Hey everybody, how's it going? I hope your day was a pretty good day. Today is Tuesday, and I have to say for a Tuesday it went pretty smooth, and it's one of my longer days that I work, so, you know, I'm kind of excited because when I get out of work, I look forward to doing edits. This is something that I do, like I go somewhere, take some wonderful photos, and then I want to edit them. So what we're seeing is Lightroom, but we're seeing Lightroom Classic. And what I want to do is I want to go to the zoo pics I took recently. You're going to see some of these photos didn't come out so good and some of them came out pretty great. We're going to edit in Lightroom today and then edit in Photoshop. And if necessary, we'll use other apps, but mainly I kind of wanted to stick to talking about Lightroom Classic. There are some things that Lightroom Classic can do that I don't feel Lightroom Creative Cloud is ready for, and I feel like they should be able to let you, between these two apps right here, Lightroom Classic and Lightroom, I feel like they should be in sync with each other. And I don't mean sync the services to the cloud. I mean, if I put a Lightroom Classic on an external hard drive, for example, right here, we're going to come over here. Here's my external hard drive. Lightroom. This is my Lightroom. This is my catalog. I can essentially export the catalog, bring it to my computer, and then I could utilize it in Lightroom, in this app right here. They're primarily the same, but not the same. I feel that Lightroom Creative Cloud is targeted towards mobile users. So what you're seeing here is a smart preview. It's not actually the original file. Creative Cloud, I feel, is designed towards people on the go, mobile users. If you're like me and you have a lot of photos and you shoot in RAW, which most people usually do, you run out of space. You have external hard drives. You have an entire plethora of photos that are categorized. And I wanted to kind of show that off here with all of these that I have. These are the ones that I've categorized and preferred to put into the cloud. So if I wanted to go and pick up something, I could essentially come here and edit it and then edit it in Photoshop. The reason why I haven't shown you this is because I was changing my workflow. I thought I could do everything mobile, but then I started running out of space with Lightroom. And Lightroom, I mean Creative Cloud. When I talk about Lightroom and Lightroom Classic, this is going to be what I call Lightroom. Lightroom Classic is going to be this one. So you'll probably see more videos of me in Lightroom Classic moving forward as opposed to Lightroom. Lightroom is great. You know, it's great for what it is, but there's a lot of things that I don't like. One of them is running out of disk space. So right now, all of it is being specified in my sync folder. I made sure that this was something here. You can save smart previews to your Macintosh. Me personally, I run a Mac when it comes to photo editing, so this is what I prefer. You can do this on Windows. But I feel like this needs to be in unison to where I can create a catalog and keep it on an external hard drive and run Lightroom in an external hard drive, just like I do with Classic. Classic, I can show you this. Let's go to Preferences. Specify location for Lightroom synced images. So as I mentioned, the synced images is there. General. When starting up, uses catalog. You see how I'm able to save my entire catalog to an external hard drive versus running Lightroom directly on the Mac? Is it slow? Sure. Do I notice a slowness? Not really. And that's because I have a lot of RAM. That's because I have a decent processor. And so I'm not really feeling the long-term effects of slowness using an external hard drive. I wish that Creative Cloud Lightroom would allow that. So that's one of the differences. Another is some of the presets. Not this one. Right here, it's under develop. So let's, I don't really have a face and I don't want to pull up faces. So let's see. I don't think it'll detect an animal's face. But let's see. These are all photos I took at the zoo. So And that's the San Antonio Zoo to be exact. Oh, there's a little turtle. Let's go ahead and pull this little dude up. So let's go to develop. There's a lot of the things that you see in Lightroom right here. When you come to your edit bar on the right, you're able to see some things that you can adjust. Well, that's actually available in Lightroom Classic. Me personally, I like Lightroom Classic because I can actually do so many things. And the reason why they're in sync and why you see my library in the cloud is in it, and I'll show you how to do that here in just a moment. But I wanted to show off, here we go. Right here, sharpening is what you would usually see. So if we do none, there's light, there's medium, and then there's heavy. You may not be able to see the difference. Maybe if we zoom in, maybe we can do it this way. That's light. There's medium, and then there's heavy. So when we zoom in, you can probably see the changes. All right, but if we come here, and if we look at classic in general, if you are doing faces, like people, this only does faces. It doesn't do the rest of your photo. Surprisingly, it actually recognized the turtle's face. This is awesome. This never happens. So we just sharpened the little dude's face so we can see his face pretty clearly. I am surprised that it worked with a creature and not a person. Usually it detects humans. This isn't my best photo. I mean, you can see there's blur, motion blur, because he was moving around. But I just wanted to give you all an example. There's a lot of different things that you can use that are not available in Lightroom Creative Cloud. So about syncing to the cloud. All right. So you see how I have all of my catalogs and my collections. They're basically organized. I'm more of an organized person on an external hard drive than I would be in an app. So all of these here, these are all my catalog. You weren't supposed to see my high school days. Anyways, yeah, we're gonna skip the high school life. But these are all my photos on my external hard drive, and all I need to do, you know what? I already have that one there, don't I? Yeah, I do. Oh yeah, these are some photos I took in the backyard. There's my dogs. That's my baby sister. She'll probably get mad at me for showing that. Oh, there's me again. There's my baby sister. You know what? We'll use my gaming one. So if I wanted to create a collection, I can come here. I can click on create a collection. When I do, it will say sync with Lightroom. If I do not want it to sync with Lightroom, I uncheck it. I'm actually not going to sync it because I already have everything I want synced right here. And we're just going to stay with the SA Zoo. So from here, we can go back to develop. I want to look for a better photo than his little blurry foot. Let's see. Oh, he's got blurry hands. He was a swimmer. He's just like, I'm following you. Give me attention. Look, there he looks like he's almost saying hi. We'll use that one. So these are pretty much kind of like what you would use for filters, but it's not really a filter. It's an effect. They're presets. The general is not going to be here. So when you are under here, you want to go to manage presets. And you're going to see how you're able to select these here. Me personally, I don't really think I need video, but we can do filter, presets, toned, colored presets. I'm sorry, I should say black and white filter, black and white presets, black and white toned, color presets, effects, and general. General is going to have the face effect. Let's see if it detects this little face again. So we wouldn't see faces here, but if you are a person who does portraits, you want to enable general, as I showed you, and go to sharpen faces. And look, it picked up the little dude's face. You're able to see a little more defined area. I'm surprised it's working with animals. I'm a little shocked. Now you can see some of the glass here. It's challenging without a CPL filter on a lens, but we can fix all of that weird, on-screen area where it looks like he's in a tank. We can fix all that so it just looks like he's floating in the water. And there's a lot of things we can clean up in Photoshop, but there's some things that we can still do here. And as I mentioned, anytime that you are going to do any kind of edits, I recommend starting off in Lightroom before going to Photoshop. So if we wanted to fix the exposure and all that stuff, yeah, sure, we could do it in Photoshop. But if we have the tools here, it's ideal to use the tools here before editing in Photoshop. So we're gonna do the exposure. I feel like this should be a little brighter, but I don't want to completely brighten out his arm, his or her arm. If I wanted to look a little softer, I would go to contrast and reduce it. But if we do that, you see how the tank information comes up? I want him looking like he's floating in water. So I'm going to up the contrast, and not by much. Let's keep it at 10. 10 seems good. We still see the little specks and stuff, which is fine. We're going to take care of that, though, in Photoshop. So highlights. We can reduce the amount of light coming through from the highlights. Shadows. If I wanted my photo to look darker, I could. I kind of don't because I feel like it's going to just be a mess there. All right, the whites. I can actually reduce the whites. That's actually, I don't know, not bad. Okay. And the black tones, we can either make it darker or we can make it lighter. I feel like I'm going to go a little dark because we've already upped the exposure. Now, temperature is another thing that people play with. In this case, the warmer we go, the more that it looks washed out. And the cooler we go, then, you know, you kind of lose color. So you want to keep a healthy balance between them. Sometimes you can change the tint to balance it out. Honestly, we don't need to change the tint. Texture. So let's just say I want the shell to look like a shell. Let's go to texture. You see how we can see a little bit more of the shell? That's why I zoomed in, because I wanted you all to see that effect. Clarity. Clarity, it actually makes the tank look not too visible, but I feel like 28 is a bit much. Oh no, I don't want it at 28. Let's put it at 15. 15 is decent. But then look, we're seeing all of the smudges and stuff, the fingerprints. I think I'm going to put it back down to 0. We'll leave it at 0 for now. I mean, it's fixable with a spot healing brush and a lot of time. Vibrance. If I wanted the colors to pop, we could totally do vibrance. And in this case, vibrance actually works in the favor of the turtle because the turtle's colors are coming through, which is awesome. Alrighty, so let's see, sharpening. Me personally on sharpening, I'm going to keep that at 50. Just because he has so many little intricate details. And when we sharpen a photo, we can see those details. Alrighty, luminance. This is noise reduction. So luminance is the one that we're going to do. We're going to smooth out some of these things. I'm going to put it at 40. Usually 35 is the sweet spot, but since this is looking more like a tank, when we kind of make it a little smoother, we're able to see that the shell looks nice with the texture. The noise is going away. It's starting to look not so bad like a tank, but we're still going to work on this. Detail, I'm going to actually up it to 60. Color noise, we're going to bump that up to 40 as well. And I do play around with these numbers. It's not always set. Usually my go-to is 35 as a sweet spot. But since we're working with something that we didn't have a CPL filter on, and this was my lens, because I was correcting myself on my last video. But on my lens, I don't have a CPL filter because it's a macro lens. So I have to look for one that's good for my camera and for my lens. In this case, we're going to come to lens correction, and it's going to tell you the lens that I used. I'm going to remove chromatic aberrations so the photo looks flat. And here we go. We're going to see that I used a 60mm 2.8 macro USM. It's a very nice little macro lens. I love it. And then my profile. There we go. The camera that I used is a 60D. I mean, not a 60, a 90D. I'm doing numbers backwards, y'all. It's been a long day. Let's see here. I think that's it for here. Now, if you wanted to see the metadata, that way you can, no, I want my bar back. There we go. All right, so let's go ahead and minimize basic, minimize detail, minimize lens. Okay, now if I wanted to go to effects, I can come here and do all this. Truth is, I don't need to. Detail, we already did that. And this is all stuff that you're able to do in regular Lightroom, but as I mentioned, the other Lightroom is more so for mobile, I feel. So if you wanted to see what it looked like if you were going to frame it, there you go. I know I saw metadata. Oh, that's under library. Okay, so if we go to library real quick, metadata is here. So you're able to see that it was on my 90D right here. You're able to see the ISO was 64. Flash fire, I didn't use a flash. I was looking to see if it would show you my, no, there's my exposure. So I was at 160 of a second at 8.0 on my aperture. So it tells you the camera settings under metadata, under library. So if you wanted to play around with certain settings and know what I used, or you know what you should probably try with macro, you can try these kinds of things here. I actually have the ISO on auto, so it did this for me by itself. I didn't have to worry about doing this. I usually change my exposure and I usually change my aperture. That's what I have a preset set up for macro, and then I have one for birds. So when I am doing those kind of settings, it usually will work towards what I want under my custom, and I can save those. And then of course I go back to manual when I'm doing something that I have to adjust or fine tune at any given moment. But if I know I'm going to be doing macro photography, I use my custom 1 slot. If I know I'm going to be taking wildlife or birds, a fast moving subject, I'm usually going to use my custom 2. And custom 2 I usually use when it comes to a telephoto lens, so it works better in my favor. But macro, I don't really like a lot of the graininess on macro as far as like sharp subjects, so I like to keep it to where it looks nice. More so I use it for florals and animals as far as bees and stuff, so we could look at a garden photo and I could show you, but we're going to stick with this little dude, and mainly so that way, you know, we could, like we did in the last video, we did the whole CPL thing, where we were removing it because we didn't have a CPL filter. Let's see here, let's go back to develop. I don't think I need to do anything here. So now that we're done here, we can go to edit in Photoshop, and that's what we're going to do. And if you hear me moving around, y'all, I'm just trying to get comfortable while I'm doing the video. Photoshop is loading, it's verifying. This is one of the things that Mac does is if there's any updates or something, it'll always verify the app. And I have those settings set up that way. It's going to take a moment, it's loading. All right, so now that we're in Photoshop, I want to get my, oh wait, here we go. I want to use my spot healing brush. You don't want to use healing because if you use healing, it's almost like cloning a specific area. I want to use my spot healer. So I'm going to zoom in, and as you see me zooming in, you're going to see that the brush gets a little bigger. I actually want the brush to be fairly decent size. So I'm going to follow this weird little line. And it's going to remove that weird little glare that we get when we're doing anything that has like a tank. And you got to be a little careful with it because look, it didn't come out the way that I wanted it to. So then we're going to just have to break that line up into little segments. And sometimes it's okay to do that. Sometimes you can get away with it, sometimes you can't. So you want to kind of like break it up into little sections. And there you go. So that glare area there is gone. If you hear little squeaks, that's the rats fighting with each other. Don't know what they're fighting about this time. So in this case, this is brown. I'm going to go ahead and drag this over here. Oh, no, it's not coming out well. Okay, we might have to make our brush a little smaller. I wanted to give you a better preview of the workflow when it comes to removing the glares and stuff. Okay, and this can blend in here. Ah, that looks a little bit better, actually. All right, so we see these fine little details, right? Okay, let's go ahead and click on here so it looks like it's merging in with the water. And there we go. And we don't want whatever that was. That was kind of gross looking. All right. Now, I do enjoy this because we're able to zoom in or out. This is one of the things about Photoshop I do enjoy, is because when it comes to a camera that has this many pixel count, you can go into these fine details, take your time with it. You know, and what you're seeing me do is removing all those little dots that are pretty much on top of the tank here. Some of them are like fingerprint smudges, kids' faces being pushed up against the thing, people touching the, you know, the window display and stuff. Me personally, I don't do that. I like to put my camera up against the lens if I can, especially if I don't have a CPL filter. That's usually the preferred method, or a lens hood to help you. But sometimes it still picks up all of this. And sometimes when you're doing underwater shots, it is going to have like little dust particles on there, and it doesn't always come out so clearly. But if you see what we're doing, like what we're doing on this, we're smoothing out the rock. We're getting rid of all of those dust artifacts, and we're getting rid of those little spots here. Those spots are caused by whatever's in the tank and the glare. So, you know, it takes time, but if you brush through it, as you can see, even just right here, smoothing it out, you can't really tell in that section that it would be a tank. We got rid of that. So let's look over here at this weird little ridged area, right? Because this is the part that kind of gives it away. It's a tank. So you just kind of have to pick and choose how you want to do that. In this case, maybe we should make it a little bit bigger of a brush. So we can, you know, maybe get away with doing this so it kind of blends in. And it's just patience, you know, it takes time. When editing a photo, doing this itself can take a good, you know, between 30 minutes to an hour, maybe depending on your workflow. If you already know how or envision how you want something to go, it might even be faster. But if you see it, if you see what I'm doing, you see how doing it that way, it kind of is doing it in chunks and it doesn't look good. So in that case, doing the bigger brush was not ideal, which means we need to make it smaller and then just go in and do it. So same thing, we just kind of go over it in smaller sections and blend, because it's essentially what we're doing. Now there is another way to do it. Preferred method would be, I'm going to go actually clear this back over here. I'm going to show you the other method, which is called the patch tool. The patch tool is going to give us a little bit of an advantage. Let's see over here. You can customize this to the way that you want. Me personally, I don't really play with all of that right now. Although if I were to get a little more serious with my work, absolutely, I would probably be using a workflow. So I want to circle this area here, and I'm just going to drag up. See what I did there? You see how I got rid of some of those ridges and it's blending in? That's what the patch tool does. And I can deselect, and then we can go back over with our spot healing brush. Right here, spot healing. And then we can just kind of blend that in. So now it looks a little more ideal. You don't see those crazy ridges or, you know, somebody's, it looks like a thumbprint to me. But that's pretty much what you would do. As I mentioned, you can go in over this plant here, where we have our spot healer. And this is pretty much what this is just touching up the photo. It's going to take a little bit of time. And you just have to have that eye to zoom in and, you know, the time and the effort. Like I said, you don't want to ever half do something on your photo. If you're going to do it, commit to it. I'm just basically showing you a couple of quick rundowns on a couple of things here. And I suppose we can also go into the floral But you see how that flower is still, you know, it's not as speckled as it was with all of the dust particles on it. So that's what we're doing. I mean, it looks so much better than it did. Oh, look, we see a little glare right behind him here. Let's go ahead and do that real quick. Okay. Like, I want it to blend, right? I want it to look natural. So we don't want this little line here. We don't want that weird little line there or there. And I could essentially go to the patch tool and then just drag up here, or drag down, I should say. But we saw this, what, one glare right here? All right, so we need to do what we were doing earlier, break it up into little segments so that way it doesn't run onto each other. And we can do that there. All right, so now if we had all of this gone, you get the idea that, you know, clearing up all of the little specks on here, it would pretty much make it look like it was not in a tank, because look, this blends in with the turtle's foot, so it just looks like it's motion blur. And here we can probably, if we zoom in, use our patch tool to make this look a little more believable here. But that's what you would do. Now the other thing, when it comes to, I want to say, where is it? Rollers. No, crop. Here we go. Cropping, cropping, cropping. Where's my crop tool? No. I just want to see my crop tool. Here we go. So crop tools. We can actually do a couple of things here, but if you're just posting on Instagram, where is it? Okay, we can straighten, clear. It's at the top. You know, the mobile one is a lot easier because I'm able to see it quicker. Oh, here we go. I had to right click. Where is the other one? So 4, 5, 8, 10. This is the Instagram standard crop. So if I wanted to save myself some time on editing this shot, make it look a little more believable, like I had mentioned, we would just go in here with our spot healer and we would just touch up this area as opposed to the whole photo. And then when we would post this little dude, it would basically be Instagram ready. That's going to be some of the things that you can do between Lightroom Classic and Photoshop. But I wanted to go ahead and jump into my floral. Let's see, SA Botanical 41021. So these are the photos I recently took last Saturday. Oh, was it the dancing one? No, that wasn't it. It's probably towards the end. And what I want to talk about is petals. I actually just recently posted one that was a rose. I like this one. And I like this one. You know what? We can do this one, but I want to see something that has like a bigger span on petals on the inside. So let me look for it. That's cute, right? It looks like allies. Right here. Yeah, this is the one. We'll go with this one. Okay, so first things first. Let's see. Basic. Oh, here's our crop tool here. So we can do this too. Like if I wanted to make it look a little... No. I mean, we could do it. Oh, no. I forget. I have to click on this every time I want to make those minor adjustments. Like if I wanted to straighten it out a certain way, I could do it this way. And we could totally use the middle of the flower. You know what? That's not bad. We'll do that. Now I want to... The aspect. I want to do it this way. And the reason why is because, of course, Instagram ready, right? I'm not going to actually post this on Instagram. Let's see here. But that's not a bad angle. We'll go with that. Yeah, we'll go with that. So you can really see that it's slightly overexposed, right? So I want to bring the exposure down. Now you're going to be able to see some of the inside of the actual flower here. And we're going to do contrast. Me personally, I like my petals to look soft, which is why I always reduce the contrast. And in this case, I guess we can do it all the way down. So it's going to make the flower look soft. Honestly, let's fix the exposure. I feel like it's still underexposed a bit. There we go. We'll do 0.40 negative. All right, highlights. If it's too bright, you'll see that. The more that I do it bright, the less detail you see. So I'm going to actually bring that all the way down. Shadows. Now, if I wanted things to maybe pop a little bit right here, but then it takes away the color on the top of it. So we're just going to leave that as is. Negative 72 on the shadows. Whites. So if I wanted my flower to look dull, I could do that since it's technically the inside. The light is coming from that angle though, so I could do that and wash out the light, but I kind of like a little bit of the highlights there. And then we can definitely play with the blacks. If we wanted to make it darker, we could. Me personally, I like to see a little bit of a darker flower. That's just me. So I'm going to go negative 45. Well, you know what? We'll just fix that there. Make it negative 45. Texture. If I wanted to add texture, here we go. We already see that the macro lens picked up some pretty good detail on the pollen. But if I wanted to add texture to it, I can do that. And then not only that, it does it to the overall flower. I'm okay with that because if we zoom out, we can see some of the texture there. But right now, this is my focal point. This is what I wanted to play with. We don't really need to worry about clarity and dehaze, but if we wanted to, we could do that. I think it makes a flower look gritty, so I don't really care for that. I think flowers should always be soft. That's just my personal perspective and opinion when I'm doing florals. Everybody is different, but I like my petals to look soft. I like the pollen to look nice and crisp, but not to the point where it's looking like a messed up HDR photo. And then dehaze, you could do that. It looks horrible that way. Or most people usually increase the dehaze. In this case, we don't need to do it. Like I said, I want it to look soft. So we're just going to bring that back down to 0. Now, if you feel that the pollen is too bright, you could reduce the vibrance. I'm not, because I happen to like the way that it was shot. Saturation. We could totally do that, make it look like a black and white photo. And that's, you know, if you feel that it's a bit much. I'm going to put it at 0. I feel it's fine the way it is. All right. Now, if I wanted to change the temperature, if you look at this, it was a nice sunny day. So if I wanted to, I can make it look nice and warm. But then the petals start to look a little yellow. But if I wanted to keep it as accurate to white as possible, I can play around with this here. The more that I go lower, the petals look a little blue, and that's what is a cooling effect. We don't really need to worry about that. I want it to be just like what the flower is. All right, I need to increase that a bit because it's starting to look blue to me. I don't want it blue. No, I don't want it super warm either. Ah, that's perfect. There we go. So there's a shadow. It doesn't look blue. I am content with that. All right. Now let's go to details. Okay, sharpening is at 40. I'm going to put sharpening at 50. Alrighty, luminance. 35 is my sweet spot. So we're going to see the petals change a bit. Slightly. I'm not liking that. Let's go ahead and make it 50. Much better. Now, as far as details, let's go ahead and bump that up to 65. And then color, I'm going to actually match it. I usually do try to match them. They don't always work out that way, but I like that. And as you can tell, it's already starting to look soft. You can still see the pollen, but it looks smooth like a flower should. Lens correction. This is my macro lens, but we can go ahead and enable the profiles, which is fine. I feel like it's still in this area a little on the bright side. So let's go back to basic. Let's go to exposure. Oh, yeah, that looks good. We'll keep it at 50. But then all of these highlights are starting to look a little crazy. So if we bring the highlights up, it kind of blends in. But me personally, I like to keep the highlights a little low. So what I'll do is probably bring the whites down a bit. And then let's see, let's increase the highlights a bit. It was a pretty bright day. It was a pretty bright shot. And I kind of like this area to blend, and it's not flowing well. So hold on, y'all. Too bright, losing detail. Okay, let's play with it. Oh, that's a little better. Let's play with the shadows. Maybe we can reduce the shadows just a bit more. Yeah, I kind of like that popping right there. That's good. And if we go a little darker, all it's doing is messing with that. So we're not going to play with that. Exposure. Maybe I need to bump it down to 10. Nope. Increase it to 45. 45 looks good. All right. I think that's good. I'm content with this because it doesn't look completely washed out. But this is pretty much the texture of the flower, so that's fine. Now, if I wanted to, and you'll see it, I mean, it's pretty soft for the most part where the shadows are, and then where the light is picking up on those highlights, it's pretty bright. Let's try another flower here. Oh, I was editing this one. That was not finalized, but this is kind of a better example of making the petals look softer. You know what? We'll do a workflow of a rose. Let's do a rose. Well, that's probably not the best example, and probably not my best shot. This one's kind of overexposed. We could talk about this one here. Let's see. We don't really need to change that right now. Exposure. We could do that. It brings out some details. There's a bee hugging the rose. Contrast. I like my petals to look soft, so the more that we do this, the more that they look like silk, which is something I love. It gives it like a paper effect, and that's something that I actually enjoy doing when it comes to a flower. Given that the stem is this way and the bee is on top of it, and the flower was actually the way as you see it shot, I want to rotate that. So let's see here. Let's go ahead and rotate the photo. No, that's not what I was trying to do. Never mind, I messed it up. Aspect. Oh, I can't find the rotational one. I know the Lightroom mobile has it, but I think there's a rotational here. No, that's not it. Reset. Isn't there a rotation one? Ah, okay. So that's one thing I'm running into. Settings, no. I guess it's pretty much crop and straighten. Original. We'll just use this as the focal point. We're gonna keep it there. I'll figure out rotation on here. It's gonna take me probably the next video, but let's see. If we wanted to see what Lightroom would do, we could do that. That's super dark. That's not how I would ever do this photo. All right, highlights. If you hear weird noises, that's my thumb rolling over it. But if we look at it, we can kind of see some of the detail. We don't want to lose too much, but we also don't want it to look washed out. So that's a good spot there. Shadows. We can bring definitely the shadows out. If we do, we can actually see some shadows on the bee there. I think that looks good. And then the whites, we can reduce the brightness of the white, or we can increase it. But you don't want to do it to the point where your eyes hurt. Okay. Texture. We can remove texture altogether, make it look super soft, which is not what I want at all, or we can increase it. And I think 13 was actually not bad. So we're going to keep it at 13. And the reason why is if we look at the bee's wings, check it out. They're almost clear. I love that. I like to see the little wings on the creature enough to where it's transparent as if you were looking at it, but also to the point where it's nice and crisp and clean. So that's a good shot there. On the clarity, if I wanted to make things pop even more, I could. Honestly, I don't really need to play with that. Vibrance, I may bring it out a bit. Mainly because I want to see those yellow. Yeah, there we go. The stem and the yellow pop. And so does the bee. This actually is not bad. And if you can look, the flower still looks nice and soft, which is fine. That's what we want. That's what we're going for. Oh, sharpening effect. We're going to go ahead and bump that to 50. Noise reduction. So this is where I usually use my workflow of 35. Bump this up to 75. And already you can see how the petals look nice and soft and silky. That's what I love. All right, and then we're gonna put this one at 35, bump this up to 75. And if we look at that, now we can see that the leaves, the petals, they look nice and soft, but at the same time, they still look like petals. And even the bee here, look, he's nice and fuzzy, but not to the point where it's cartoonish or something. So I like that look. We can remove chromatic aberration. We can set the lens profile. If you ever wanted to play with it on the lens vignetting, you can. I don't. There's no need to. No, I want to make it at 100. Distortion. So distortion actually plays with the way that the lens took the photo. There's no need to do that either. No, I meant to do it at 100. I don't need to worry about that. Canon lenses are actually not bad. Sometimes you do have to correct them. I have noticed that playing with a Tamron lens, I have had to use the lens profile correction. Let's see, effects. I don't really think we need to do anything with effects. Yeah. So my crop didn't come out the way that I wanted, right? And since I don't see rotational on here, which at some point I'm pretty sure we'll find, let's go ahead and edit in Photoshop. Photoshop is going to pop open with this photo of the bee. Now, one thing I want to mention, because everything is running on my external hard drive, if I were to delete this photo, it deletes it from my hard drive and it'll come to my trash. If you like to, I want to say, save your photos, even if they're bad shots, do not delete them. Just don't delete them, because you're deleting the original file, not the edit. Alrighty. It's working on it. It's going to take a moment. Oh, did it already do it? I guess it did. Okay. Yeah. All right. Now, can I rotate? No, that's not what I want to do. I don't want to rotate the crop box. I want to rotate the image. Oh, here we go. What's this? Is this what I think it is? No. I see straighten, ratio, original, front, new crop, delete crop, new. I thought I would be able to do it in here. All right, nope. Delete cropped pixels. I think that's my undo button. Yeah, sure, we'll save it. Yeah, that's my undo button. Huh. I know I can do it mobile. Okay. Maybe if I do it this way. Ah, yeah, I had to pinch and turn. That's what I've been trying to do, y'all. I had to pinch and do it. It's easier on a mobile device, to be honest. But there we go. So now we're able to see the bee, and now I kind of want to straighten the flower out a bit. So let's go back to our crop tool. Oh, come on. There. Now, man, I was hoping it would save it. Okay, I really got to figure out the rotate on here because it's not letting me do the rotational. But you all get the idea. Usually when I turn it and save it, it works, but I guess we're struggling with that even in Photoshop for some reason. I could have sworn there was a rotate, but it could be maybe on their mobile app. Anyways, that's what I wanted you to see was the difference in them. Now, if we open up Lightroom, and we're gonna basically it's pretty much gonna be like what I showed you here. These are all my synced folders. I don't know if it saves the live edits or not, but let's go. We struggled with this the last time. I don't think it saved the edits, but since, you know, cataloging everything under Classic versus the Lightroom Creative Cloud, it's probably not going to update the previews. This is more so that if you wanted to edit it and then put it in a JPEG format on mobile, I think this is good for like mobile use, especially if you're just posting to Instagram. Did it save my edit? So this is the one I edited. And yes, it did save my edits. Oh, okay. I'm happy with that. It was very windy when I took these photos. Oh yeah, there's that pink one. I love the way that it looks like a little bird is at the top here. And let's see. Oh yeah, there was a hummingbird. I'll show you all. Let's zoom in. There's a little hummingbird. It's not the best shot, but you know, it was the hummingbird. Let's see. What I'm looking for is that rose photo that we were just editing. And there we go. That's our edit. So it saves the edit live. And you were able to see that. And now look at it. We're able to see everything here. If we go here, this is the one where it has the rotational. So for those who are trying to figure that part out, I know that this app has it. I don't know why the Classic in Photoshop does not. Granted, that's not level. That's not level at all. Oops. Okay, that's better. So there you go. There's the rotational. But the live edit is done in Classic, and then it's done in Photoshop. So just keep that in mind. Anytime that you do the updates, it automatically syncs it to the cloud. It'll save that. And then when I'm done doing this, you'll probably see this particular photo posted on my Instagram later today. That's going to be it for everybody. Thank you for hanging out with me. That way I could show off Lightroom Classic, which is something I prefer to use, as well as playing around in Photoshop, how to do certain things. And then seeing the live updates appear in Lightroom Creative Cloud. If you, I want to say, have any questions, sorry, I drew a blank there for a moment. If you have any questions on how to do something, I can definitely help you out with it. If not, there's actually some wonderful tutorials that Adobe has set up as well. They actually have those tutorials on their mobile app. You're able to sign in if you have a creative account, and they actually give you the tutorials. It is a paid service. It does cost a monthly fee. But I wanted to thank everybody for hanging out with me. If you do like what you see, go ahead and like and subscribe. It's very much appreciated. And thanks again. Have a wonderful evening. All right, I totally forgot to mention everybody. I actually found the rotate in Lightroom. I knew it was going to be something, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to find this as soon as my video ends, and it was very simple. You come to the photo, you right click, or you double tap on your Mac, rotate, and there you go. I'm sorry, everybody. I just wanted to show you that real quick. So this is before you go into the Photoshop edit. And now I'm very happy that I was able to get that for you all, so that way we could showcase that and then do the same thing that we were doing to have it Instagram ready, which, you know, little trial and error. We can adjust it to make it aligned. Yeah, that looks aligned to me. But I wanted to show you all that. Thank you again for your time. Have a wonderful evening.